Okay, now we want to construct the hyperbola in the plane z equals 4. I said this is 4.8. If I do the square root of 1.6, it's a little less than 1.3. 4 times 1.3 would be 5.2. So this really should be 5.2, 5.1, let's say. Okay? So this is in the plane z equals 4. Now I don't really care in sketching it if we use 4.8 or 5.1, but 5.1 is a little more accurate. Okay, so first thing I did, and I used purple for this part of the graph. I went up to z equals 1, 2, 3, 4, there's my z equals 4 plane, and I drew an axis parallel to the y-axis and a dotted line parallel to the x-axis. I can even put little arrows in those if I want to. So this axis lies 4 units above the x-axis, this 4 units above the y-axis. Then I sketch my rectangle. Now my rectangle is a little bigger than the one I sketched here. If this is 4 units here, then this distance from here to the end of this rectangle is going to have to be a little more than 4. Well, there's 4, so it's plausible that's 5.1. And then I mark this point and draw this side of my rectangle. Then I draw the other side of the rectangle. If this distance is 2, this distance has to be about 1.3 times that, about 30% greater. Maybe I got it right, maybe I missed it, but right there is the side that I drew. And this side extends parallel to this axis, assuming this is in the plane of this axis in the z equals 4 plane. Then I complete the rectangle by doing the same thing on this side. Mark this point. This is going to be a vertex of the hyperbola. This is a vertex of the hyperbola. I draw the diagonals, which will be the asymptotes of the hyperbola, and then I sketch in the hyperbola perpendicular to those asymptotes, here and here. And it's understood now that this hyperbola is 4 units above the x-axis. Now there are ways we can shade this, and ways we can make it clearer what we're seeing, but here I've gone ahead and drawn a projection, indication that we have a perpendicular from this point down to the x-axis, of course, is the same 4 units that we have here. And I could have done the same thing here, but it would have gotten pretty messy. It's already messy enough. Okay, so that's the 2 purple hyperbola. Oh, well, that's the 2 branches of the purple hyperbola, the hyperbola corresponding to this equation in the plane z equals 4. Now I can also do the xz plane. In the xz plane, I also get a hyperbola. The rectangle is going to be bigger in the z direction than in the x direction. Well, if I sketch that hyperbola, I haven't sketched its rectangle because it would just get too cluttered, but the hyperbola is going to be in the xz plane. So I've kind of indicated that by drawing these, whoops, got the wrong color. By drawing a couple of sections of hyperbola and these vertical lines here, just indicating that this is in the plane parallel parallel to the xz plane. Okay, hopefully you can see that, but if not, I probably will redo this and try to make it a little clearer and actually construct it instead of referring to things that have already been constructed in the picture. If we want to try to get fancy, we can do some shading. Not sure I want to do that on this video. I'll come back in a minute. And I actually want to stop and think about how I want to shade this and how it might be as clear as possible to you. So I'll come back in a minute in the next video and do a little bit of shading that'll hopefully make the shape a little clearer to you.